Today, I'm also speaking to you as a member of the Global Leaders Group, which is chaired by Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados, and has been working tirelessly to bring out the issue of antibiotic resistance, the silent pandemic in our world, to policymakers and to make change on the ground. This year's theme for the World Awareness Week for AMR is very apt. It is well timed to tell us that we need to protect our present and secure our future. This is a silent pandemic. And the reason it is called a silent pandemic is because we know that if the medicines that make us well today lose the ability to do so, then we are in serious trouble and we will have more and more diseases and have no way to be able to get well. So we need to find a way to make sure that the antibiotic resistance does not grow in our world. CSC, as an environmental group, has been bringing out the importance of the One Health approach when it comes to AMR. This is because we know that the pathways for antibiotic resistance are also through the food we eat and through the waste that comes out of the manufacturing plants or even the discharges from, say, poultry industry or, say, the aquaculture or dairy. This is because more and more of antibiotics is also used, or antimicrobials is also used in the cultivation in our food systems, in our dairy, in our aquaculture, in our poultry, and even crops today. This is serious, it is a health hazard, and it also is an environmental hazard. This is why the One Health approach is critical for us to talk about when it comes to antimicrobial resistance. Now, what we have done over the last some years is to put forward an agenda on how we need to move ahead. The first part of the agenda is what I call the conservation agenda. We know that there are critically important antimicrobials, antibiotics, which are necessary for human health. These are absolutely the most important antimicrobials, antibiotics, that we know that if we are seriously ill, that we need to use the medicines of first and often last resort. Those antimicrobials, those antibiotics need to be conserved. Now, how do we conserve them? We also make sure that there is a list of those and high antibiotics which are critically important for human health, and those should not be used for animals or for crop. And it is possible. That is the conservation agenda. But the bigger part of the agenda is really the development agenda. We know we need to grow in our food production. We need to increase food production, but we need to do that without the cost to our own health and to the environment. Now, this is where the question becomes, how can we build a prevention agenda so that we invest in making sure that we use less and less antimicrobials in the production and the manufacture of our food? Again, there are remarkable examples that have emerged from our world to show us that it is possible. And the way that we would do this is to make sure that you would first improve the conditions in which the animals live so that you don't have to spray antibiotics just to make sure that there is no disease. You would use it for therapeutic purposes when there is a disease. And that also you would make sure that the animal does not get diseased because you have a preventive agenda to diagnose, to be able to know that there is the early onset of a disease, and to be able to use even traditional medicines like ethnomedicines to be able to reduce it. So Smallholder agriculture is going to be so important in our world, and this is really the future of agriculture, but also the future of showing how a prevention agenda can work. This is a key part of the act now that we need to do as we move ahead. The third part is the environmental agenda. We know that waste will be produced from manufacturing plants. Also, waste will be produced when animal breeding happens, whether it is for poultry or for dairy, and that really needs to make sure that that waste, because in countries like India, we reuse the waste on the land. But if it is contaminated, it will add to our disease burden. And this again becomes the preventive agenda. Even for the pharma industry, we find that it is not good enough to first pollute and then clean up. We need to prevent, and prevent. And this then becomes the agenda for countries of the South as we move ahead to make sure that we first do not allow our burden of diseases to get even worse, because the antibiotics that we need so critically as we fall ill are not available to us. So access is important, effectiveness is important, and prevention is important. This is the agenda, and I really believe it is something that we need to talk about, practice, and scale up. Thank you very much.